Hey everybody, Ed Homewood. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today should be an interesting, fun video. It's going to be a three-fer, and it's going to be all from one manufacturer. We're going to talk about the Shanling CR60 CD transport. We're going to talk about the EH2 headphone amp DAC, that's actually an R2R ladder DAC, and the HW600 open back planar magnetic headphone. So please do me a favor, sit back, relax, and we'll get going on this three-fer review. Well, the first product we're going to talk about in this review is the Shanling EH2. It is a headphone amp DAC, sells for $299. I'll put specifications up here, but the thing I think is cool is Shanling developed a 24-bit R2R DAC for this, and we'll look at it on the inside. So it's got some great features like oversampling, non-oversampling mode. On USB in, it'll do 32-bit 768 and PCM's 24, 192 like always. But another cool thing is it's got an XMOS XU316 chip in it. And remember, XMOS chips are the traffic cop for all the USB communications. So if you plug in any USB source into this, it goes through the XU316, and that does some retiming, it does some reclocking, it cleans up the signal, it helps take care of latency and gives you a much better performance for sure. So the cool thing is Shanling developed this R2R chip all by themselves, and it was kind of in an effort to, Shanling's been in business for many, many years, and we are only seeing, starting to see it here in North America, but they've been doing high-end audio products for a long time in other markets, and so they had an old DAC based on the famous Per Brown PCM 1704 DAC chip, and they wanted to kind of replicate that real warm sound, but bring it forward, more modern, good detail, all of those other things. So very much kind of an analog sound for this, and we'll talk about it in this summary. Also has some pretty good output. It does 4.3 watts into 32 ohms on balanced, 1.3 watts into 32 ohms on single-ended. It does use a Qualcomm QCC 5125 Bluetooth chip, so it's got aptX, LDAC, all the wonderful Bluetooth stuff that everybody loves. And it's got some good goes-ins and goes-outs, and we're going to take a look at the front, we're going to take a look at the back, and I'm going to open it up, and we're going to go inside and look at it. It's a pretty interesting thing. So let's, real quick, while I've got you here, let's take a look at the front of it real quick, and I'll try to get it so you can see stuff. So single-ended input on 6.3 millimeter quarter-inch, balanced on 4.4 pentagon, gain control, so there's two gains, high and low. Our input, which is USB-C, coaxial, optical, and Bluetooth. We have volume control. We have separate bass and treble controls, and then our power switch. So actually really well laid out. So now let's do this. Let me turn it around and we'll look at the back. Well, looking at the back panel, I'll insert an enlargement so you can see what I'm talking about. We've got 12 volt power in. It does come with a wall wart switch mode 12 volt power supply. I did use linear power supplies because I've always got them hooked up here, so it was just easy to do. And I thought it made a nice difference for sure. USB in on USB-C. We've got our Bluetooth antenna. Toslink optical for SPDIF, coax SPDIF, our switch for oversampling, non-oversampling mode. Remember, this is an R2R DAC. We've got a balanced 4.4 millimeter pentagon output, and what I do is I use that 4.4 millimeter to XLR cable, and that's a great way to connect it up. Single-ended output, and then there's a switch here to make this a preamp or a line level output device if you wanted to use it just as a DAC and run it into another device or whatever. So as you can see, really, really nice feature set. So let's do this. We're going to open it up and look inside. Well, here we are looking at the inside of the EH2, and one of the things I think you'll find is fascinating is you'll see wood. They actually use I think it's alder. They use a specific type of wood to dampen resonances. Underneath this cover is where the 24-bit R2R DAC circuitry lives. I'm not sure what's under this one, but you'll see large output transistors. It's a very powerful little headphone amplifier for sure, and this is a heatsink for, again, additional output transistors. Now, one of the things that's really interesting, oh, by the way, there's the Qualcomm Bluetooth chipset. Underneath here, we've got, that's where our XMOS processor lives. It's a dual-sided board. So really well laid out, really well thought out, good quality components throughout. I'm quite impressed with the build quality of this. So let's do this. Let's button it up and we'll talk more about all this different gear. So the next component we're going to talk about is the Shanling CR60. Now this sells for $350. It is a very premium CD transport, but it's also a CD ripper, and we're going to talk about that in a second. The things that impressed me about this is the actual construction of it is quite heavy. It's an aluminum chassis, but it does use a Sanyo HD850 laser and a Philips CD drive. So this is good quality stuff. This isn't just off-the-shelf cheap stuff like you'll find in lesser CD transports. The other nice thing about it is it's got good connectivity and it's really smooth and nice. And I like the drawer load because on my sound solver rack, it just fits right in. I don't have to worry about top load or taking up the top shelf if I want to have a big amp on it, maybe with tube amp or something like that. This is really nice and it works really well. So we're going to start over here looking at the faceplate real quick. We've got our infrared sensor, and it does come with a full-featured remote control. We've got our power button. We'll go ahead and power it up, and it'll go through its boot sequence. There's not a lot to see on the display. It does show tracks, total time, things like that, countdown. So let's do this. This is the open button, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. You can hear it's really, really smooth motion. We'll get that in place. We'll close that up. And it'll go ahead through the sequence of reading the CD. Now this button here is skip back, play, pause, skip forward, and of course open, close, and you'll see it read the information. Now the display will show track and time and so forth, and whether you're in shuffle mode, whether you're in repeat all, repeat one, those kinds of things. It is a little bit hard to see, but on my desktop it was really fine, easy to use, and the remote control made it convenient. So let's do this. Let's look at the back real quick and we'll talk about the ripping functions this has. I'll insert a close-up of the back panel so you can see it better. This is the mode switch, allows you to switch between it being a transport and a ripper. It does have a 12-volt power in. Now, it does not come with any power supply. I did use a 12-volt linear power supply, again, because I've got them plugged in all the time over here on the desktop. It does have a USB-C 5-volt power in. If you're going to do that, I'd recommend you use maybe one of those fast charge cell phone chargers, maybe 2 amps or thereabouts. It does have a USB-B that goes out to your recording device, PC, Mac, whatever. It does have USB-C out for that as well. And it does have a USB-A so that you could plug a thumb drive in and rip to it, or you can output the digital signal over a USB-A to go into a DAC or whatever if you want to. And we've got Toslink and coax output. So a really full-featured, very nice. And this thing is very well constructed. It is good. It's a really nice solid aluminum chassis and everything else. Really well put together. So you know what? Let's talk about the headphones next. So the third and final product I want to talk about is the Shanling HW600 planar magnetic headphones. Now they sell for $1,200, and they're worth it. They're really well constructed. As I mentioned, it's planar magnetic. It uses 110 by 86 millimeter planar magnetic driver. It is 30 ohms. They're 104 dB. You'll see specs up here. And also while I'm talking, you'll see cutaways of the diaphragms and things like that when we get to it. One of the things I was very impressed with is the quality of the cable that came with this. It is a balanced cable, but it is a 4-core single crystal OFC copper cable, 4.4 on one end, and they use 3.5 millimeter on the other end. So if you never needed to replace a cable, it wouldn't be hard to do. But I really like this. It's not microphonic. It was easy. It's flexible. I used it on some other headphones with really good results. So really nice cable that came with it. And that was a nice little extra bonus. So the planar magnetic drivers in this, and like I said, you'll see some cutaways. It's an advanced driver. It is, again, 110 by 86 millimeters. It uses an 8 micrometer polymer diaphragm with a silver-plated coil that's etched onto it. And then it lives between 14 neodymium magnets that create the magnetic field. Remember, planar magnetic drivers, the audio signal is sent through the wire on the diaphragm, and as the polarity of that signal changes, it moves within the magnetic field on the front and back. So that's what creates it. So the whole diaphragm makes sound, not like a cone speaker, which is just kind of pistonic in its motion. This is really, the nice thing about planar magnetics is they're very fast. Transients are really well produced, just really nice. Now, they do use aerospace grade aluminum for all of the brackets and the headband. It is a lambskin headband, and I really love the ear pads. They're made from high quality sheepskin leather. I'm sorry, this is not lambskin, it's sheepskin. Is there any difference? I don't know. Sheeps are lambs, right? So anyway, super comfortable. It's got a nice cloth kind of surface here, and then the lambskin on the outside. It's really, really comfortable. So as I was wearing these, and you know what, I'm going to tell you about some music I use for this as well. As I was wearing these, the comfort was really good. I had no trouble adjusting them. They were very comfortable on my ears, and I could listen to them for long periods of time. Yeah, my ears got a little sweaty after a while, but they never touched. I never felt like they were touching the inside. It's softly padded in there anyway, but really, really comfortable. And just, I was, you know what, I'm quite taken with these headphones for sure. So let's do this real quick. Let me tell you about some of the music I used, and then we'll wrap everything up. So like I normally do for headphones, I used my headphone hi-fi playlist, and there will be a title and co-buzz link to that playlist in the video description. I'm not going to be doing links to the individual tracks, because guess what? They're in the playlist. So the first track I want to use is this track from David Gilmour and his daughter Romney Gilmour. It's off the Luck and Strange album, and it's called Between 2 Points. And this is an absolutely, first of all, it's a marvelous album. This is a marvelous track. Romney Gilmour she's a young woman, and she has this incredibly delicate and kind of breathy voice. And the way that the two interact and the seamless blending between his kind of soft backing vocals and her vocals in the lead, it creates this kind of sense of intimacy and sort of emotional restraint. I know if David feels anyway, if he feels like about his daughter like I feel about mine, there's a tremendous amount of pride. There's a tremendous amount of just engagement in her voice and what's going on. And you kind of get a sense that, you know, this is a very kind of loving duet between the two of them. It's marvelous. Now, from an instrumentation standpoint, Gilmour's guitar, that absolute signature guitar tone is there. Really beautifully rendered. It's very liquid. It's kind of slightly mournful. And the way he does it, and he's always kind of done this even in the Pink Floyd days, he just kind of floats those notes over, you know, the backing piano, and there's some other synth sounds going on, and there's some ambient textures, and the guitar just glides over the top, just kind of floats over it, like, you know, that the opening of like Wish You Were Here or something like that. Now, from a tonal character standpoint, this is a very warm and organic recording. It is very atmospheric. There's a little bit of reverb that adds kind of this, I don't know, the sense of distance, this kind of sense of maybe some slight melancholy. It's just beautifully well recorded. Now, from an imaging standpoint, it's a wide open mix. Now, again, the imaging is all handled by the mixing engineer, so it's created in the studio, but it's beautifully done. The guitar and the voice just kind of sit in these layers, these very kind of airy layers. It evokes this really interesting sense of space and kind of stillness, or maybe introspection a little bit. It's just a beautiful recording. So the next track I used is from Vangelis, and it's off the original Blade Runner soundtrack, and it is Blade Runner End Titles. That's the title of the song. And the texture in this is it's very monumental electronic soundscape. This was early in the days of this kind of electronic music. It's dense. There's a lot of synth layers. There's metallic percussion. There's a lot of evolving kind of arpeggios in it. It's really interesting. Vangelis has always done that. Now, being a movie soundtrack, it is very dynamic. It's very powerful. There's a lot of kind of these cinematic swells. And there's these wonderful transitions from kind of the quiet ambience to this immense towering intensity, this, you know, very much the crescendos, you know, very much like a movie theme should be as it builds and then peaks. The tonal characteristic on this is, you know, given the era it was recorded, it's very futuristic. It's very majestic, obviously being a cinematic piece. It has kind of a glassy top end, but has a lot of low frequency synths. It's really interesting down low as well. So from an imaging or spatiality standpoint, it has a very big stereo image, a very strong sense of depth, and the sound kind of wraps around you a little bit, as you would expect from a motion picture soundtrack. And again, all the imaging is created in the studio, but they really did a good job. So you get a good image. I thought the headspace on this was really well done. It was a lot of fun to listen to. Well, for the last track, again, I went kind of for another intimate sort of recording. It is Emily Barker and the Red Clay Halo, and the song is called Nostalgia. Now, the vocals on this are really clear, very emotional. There's a lot of texture in her voice. Now, there's a little bit of processing going on, but this is very much kind of she's got kind of this very gentle folk lilt to her voice, that kind of pattern. It's slightly forward in the mix. Obviously, she's the lead singer. And it's intimate, very intimate sounding, but it doesn't sound forced. It doesn't sound shoved in your face. It's very It's just really well balanced and really well recorded. Now, from an instrumentation standpoint, the acoustic guitars, the strings, the kind of very light percussion, it's all very rich, very warm, very natural. Harmonically, it's just a beautifully textured kind of tapestry of music. It's really well done. Now, the tonal character is very earthy and organic on this. Very soft in the mids, very subtle airiness in the upper mid range and treble range. There's not a ton of bass, there's a little bit, but it is just, it's very intimate sort of recording. Now, from an imaging or spatiality standpoint, it's very balanced and room-like. It's not a big image. It's very much more intimate than that. It feels though it was kind of performed live, but in a very small hall. So there's a lot of closeness and there's a great deal of authenticity to this. Emily Barker's voice is just amazing. It's got this beautiful texture to it. And there's, her ability to kind of emote with her voice is quite good. So those are the 3 tracks I use for reviewing this. So let's do this. Let me summarize my thoughts on the headphones and all of the gear, and then we'll get out of here. Well, I've been mightily impressed with these products from Shanling, and I'm going to start with the EH2 since that was the first product I reviewed. This is a wonderful little headphone amp DAC, but it is also a killer good DAC for $299. It is a full-blown 24-bit ladder DAC, as you saw when we looked inside. Really well constructed, really well thought out. I used it just as a DAC in the big room with kind of a modest system, a price appropriate system. I used it with the Advanced Paris XI75 integrated running into the Q Acoustics 3030Cs and the ELAC DB53s. And it was great sound, good bass, good everything. This thing just really presented a great image. It presented just that nice, lush, kind of warm R2R sound that I love so much. And again, at $299, if you just used it as a DAC, I think you'd be impressed with it. I did obviously put it on the desktop to use it as a headphone amp, and I used it as a preamp connected. I had the CR60 transport connected to it via digital connection, and then I used a single-ended out into the Cambridge Audio HW600 amplifier, and that was an amazing combination. Now, as a headphone amp running the HW600s, and I used it with a bunch of FIO headphones, some Hifi headphones, and a pair of Mastrop 6XX. The headphone amp is quite good. It's got good power, it's got good bass, really good detail. That R2R mid-range is just beautiful and rich and very, very detailed. Good high frequencies. It is, I'm the warm, smooth guy, and it gave me that presentation all the time. Now, from a soundstage standpoint, in the big room, through a great soundstage, like I would expect from an R2R DAC, but on the headphones, it gave a really good natural presentation. I'm not, I listen to headphones different than I listen to speakers, so, all of the vocals appear kind of in the center of your head and so forth, but it had a good sense of air and a good sense of space all around it, so I felt like I was kind of really more immersed in the music than, just kind of listening to it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the feeling I got with it. It was just awesome. So the CR60, as you know what, I only used it as a transport. I didn't do any ripping with it. As a transport, it worked perfectly. It gave the digital signal to the DAC. Everything sounded the way it should. It was easy to use, smooth, quiet operation, never made any noise while it was spinning the disc or reading up on the disc. Easy functions to use. Really, really nice. At $350, I like it. I like it for a couple of reasons. If I was putting it in a rack, I'd rather have the drawer load rather than the top load on the desk too in my Sound Solver rack. It's perfect because it's a drawer. I don't have to worry about taking up the top shelf. Sometimes I put tube amps on there and I want everything to fit on the shelves below, and this does a great job with that. Now, the HW600 headphones. These are remarkable headphones. I did the SJY Carbons a while ago, and that was a closed back planar magnetic, and that was a very good headphone. A tough one to drive. These are much easier to drive at 30 ohms. I actually think I prefer the sound of the Shanlings to the SJYs. I tend to be an open back headphone guy, and I love open back planar magnetics. And this thing, the bass was great on these. Very good, very deep, very articulate. Mid-range was really well reproduced. Sounded natural. Drums and vocals sounded really natural. Guitar sounded great. Brass had that nice bite that you want from a brass instrument. Mid-range was beautifully smooth and detailed. Upper frequencies were well rendered. I thought the high frequencies were nice. They weren't, maybe just ever so slightly soft, but very fast. Transients were great as far as, their ability, to peak out. I've never felt like transients or dynamics were limited, especially like on the Vangelis track. Just had all, it gave me all that sense of power. And then as it hung in the air, the decays, it was beautiful. They just kind of hung there, and they just seemed to just naturally, kind of decay on their own. Really, really nicely done. Overall, a super impressive pair of headphones, no question about it. And honestly, lately, they've become my daily drivers for all kinds of stuff, for other reviews. Just really comfortable. I didn't have any problem with the headband or anything like that. The cord, as I mentioned, was great. It's non-microphonic. It's good and flexible. Had a great sound to it as well. Just overall, I think it was really nice. The ear pads were comfortable. Just a great pair of headphones without any question. Well, those are my thoughts on the 3 Shanling products I've got here. Very impressive. I was quite taken with all of it, individually and in combination. Well, hopefully you were kind of taken with the video and you'd be willing to give me a like and your subscription and maybe ring the bell so you get notified the next time I put out a video. About 60% of the folks that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and it would help a lot if you would consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. You're free to take it away from me if you don't like what I'm doing, but it does help the channel grow, and it does show manufacturers we've got a great community, so they're more likely to send me cool stuff. And guys, I've got so much cool stuff here. You're going to see it coming up. A lot of it really, really cool. I would like to take a moment to thank my channel members and my subscribers. Thanks so much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. As I mentioned, there will be a playlist link, the Hifi headphone playlist link in the in the video description. In the spirit of full disclosure, there will be Amazon affiliate links for all 3 of these products in the video description. There are some other Amazon affiliate links in the video description. If you're not familiar with that, I do make a very small commission on those items if you were to purchase through those links, but it doesn't affect your cost, and it doesn't affect your ability to return a product if you're dissatisfied with it. So that's that. Now, there's also a link to the community post playlist. There's some great music there. Honestly, some wonderful music. Comment, let me know your thoughts. I thought these were one of the best pair of headphones I've heard. I'm really impressed with this at $299. And this is a great little problem solver with the drawer load and being as good a quality as it is. So let me know your thoughts about all of that stuff. I have covered all the bases and all of the topics I need to for this particular video. So please like, subscribe, comment. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to. My name is Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel, and I always tell you the same thing. Please carve out a little bit of time in your day to put on some music you really love and just sit back and relax. You gave me a lot of time today. Thank you so much for it. I hope you have a wonderful day.